Good morning, everybody. It's the morning after the class that we had on Tuesday, the first class of the session, and in that, one of the objectives that I wanted you to achieve this week was to successfully shoot a JPEG, yes, JPEG, not RAW, file, and also to compress it and upload it to the FTP. So this first session deals just simply with the compression and saving of a JPEG to the right dimensions. So without further ado, I'm going to launch Bridge. If you can look down on the toolbar there, I bring Bridge up, and the reason I'm using Bridge, as I said in class, was so that I can see how the image is shot and also the size of the image. So you can see on the desktop here what I'm circling is the JPEG image that I shot yesterday in class. Double click on it and you can see in the right hand corner as well, middle part of the frame, there's f2.8, 60 to the second, ISO 400 with the metadata on the right side of my bridge screen. Here comes Photoshop and I'm launching the image into Photoshop. Now the first thing that you can see is that the image is shot as a JPEG. You're not shooting RAW for this. I have to emphasize that you're not shooting RAW for this because we are going to be compressing this image. So as again mentioned in class, for the recap here, the thing that I'm more interested in, or the most interested in, and you should be too, by the way, is the document size detail information, which is in this bottom left hand part of the screen that I am circling now. The reason why we shoot JPEG for download is very simply because it is a compressed file format. It is a suitable and universally recognized file format for distribution anywhere in the world, and moreover it's an easy file format to further compress. For this exercise we need to compress the image in size, that is the dimension of the image. And when we talk about dimension, we have to talk about the image size in relation to the pixels per inch, or sometimes it's referred to as dots per inch. That is either PPI or DPI. That is the key part. So the way that we look at this size is simply by looking at image size. And you can also see here that the image size in this screen here relates exactly to the document size down there. Can you see the document size that I'm circling bottom left and the image size that I am sizing in the image size dialog box? You can see here that this image size is coming in at 83.3 inches. You can convert that to centimeters if you want. We don't really care. But the height is also 55.5 inches and it's the resolution, and this is the most important thing that you're going to have to remember. The resolution is 72 pixels per inch. Now this is 72 pixels per inch, which is screen resolution. You look at screens on your telephone screen, you look at screens on your laptop, you look at screens on your television, your flat screen digital television. They are all resolution of 72 dpi. Depending on the size of the screen, depends on the dimensions, in other words the width, if you can see the cursor there, and the height of that image. Now we don't want it for screen resolution. We have to create our image for print resolution. And that print resolution is, watch the resolution, 300 dpi. Now I have to make this image a particular size. And this is where the variation comes into. When you are dealing with a picture editor or a commissioning editor or whoever is going to be receiving the images from the FTP, they will stipulate, that is, state the size of the image they want. They will either give it to you in the form of image size, document size. In other words, they'll say you can send it to us as a 20 megabyte file, for example. That is the file size here, image size here, or the document size is used in Photoshop. Or they will give you specific dimensions. So for this exercise, I'm going to cancel this for the moment and I'm going to talk about specific dimensions. Oftentimes a picture editor will give you specific dimensions because they're using specific boxes to put the article into. Those could be text boxes, image boxes, or they simply want it in a format that will fit the way that they're working. So for example, if you're shooting live news and you're uploading images to a picture editor's desk, they may have a specific set template that they want their images to fall into. They also want a specific set document size. So generally they'll turn around to you and they will reply when you inquire about what size of images you want sending. You have to ask that and they will tell you that. They'll often say, can you give me a 20 megabyte image, or can you give me a 10 by 8 inch crop? Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to show you is how to crop the image. We go into the crop tool in the toolbar here. If you've not used Photoshop, we'll select a crop here, and you can see that the width, height and resolution is set at 10 by 8 by 300 dpi. How do I change that? Simply, I can set a new crop preset, and if I put that in, it clears everything out, and I can create cancel that. I can set width, height and resolution here, not a new pre-crop set, because that's what you set when you sort it out. And you can go into these boxes at the top in the size box here, and you can simply punch in, type in the size of document that you want. But for argument's sake, we're going to be using, for this one, if you want to just go all the way through with this exercise, it's easiest to use a 10 by 8 inch crop at 300 pixels per inch. Note also that in this dialog pull down box here on the resolution side, this is my resolution box here by the way, you've got pixels per centimeters. Under no account do you select pixels per centimeter, because that is a smaller resolution and your file will be smaller. So now we've got the crop preset, if I can speak properly the right way round, okay, set at 300 pixels per inch. I can now move my crop round, so I can make my crop depending on what I want to crop out the image. So maybe I'll just come in a little bit closer like that, hit return on it, or tick the crop on it, for example, and then you can see straight away that my image is being cut down to 8 by 10 inches at 300 dpi, and notice too now that my document size is 20 megabytes. So what I've physically done is I've removed 2/3 of the data of that image, which makes it smaller, more compact and ready to send down the wire. Or is it? No, it's not, because now what I've got to do is I've got to compress this JPEG, and this is what I'm going to do. So when I've cropped or cut down my image, I can simply file, save as, okay, file, save as, there. I can call it whatever I want to call it, Classroom Compressed 2. I can save that to where I want it to save. I've got to name my image as well. Save it out on the desktop, and you can see that the format here, make sure that this format box is selected to JPEG. That is the default saving usually in Photoshop, but if it's not and you've been doing something else, then convert it to JPEG by this pull down menu here. And when I hit save, you'll get this dialog box up here. Now this dialog box has a saver on it, a slider on it, and that slider is your compression. That's your quality compression, okay? And what you can do is this, is you can make the image smaller. As you can see, as I dial it down to quality 5 there, you can see my image is at 367K. Or I can have it as full size here, which is 3.4 megabytes. Okay, so what we're looking for when we set our images and we send our images to the FTP site is simply a file compression here. If I pull this down, you can see this goes to 1.1 megabytes. I'm looking for a file somewhere between 950 and 1.2 megabytes. So this 1.1 megabyte will do. If you can get it to 1 megabyte, that's ideal, but anywhere between about 950 and 1.2 megabytes, depending on the information in your file. And that depends on color, and it also depends on contrast and what light's like, etc. So all the files are variable if you're shooting in different lights and color. The key thing is not to stress about it, but just simply to use this slider and slide it down until you get anywhere between 950 or 1 megabyte. And it seems to want to sit on 1.1 megabytes, so that's fine by me. What am I going to do now? I'm simply just going to hit the OK. And you can see that my save file is now Classroom Compressed 2 JPG. You can see also that that hasn't affected the document size, the compression, but it's compressed the data inside the document, and this is now ready for upload to the FTP site. Please feel free to play this through over and over again. If you've got any issues with this, you can always flag them up in class next week. But those of you who haven't done it, there's a little talk through lecture for you to how to compress and shoot a JPEG down to 10 by 8. Okay, here endeth the lesson. Thank you very much.